All right. Welcome to the final chapter. We're finishing this up over about the next 2 weeks or so. This chapter is the Reconstruction era. So we're going to cover roughly from 1865 or the end of the Civil War to 1877, which is known as the Gilded Age after that point, which we'll finish off 1877 on when you guys get to high school history. So, lesson one is early Reconstruction. So we're going to talk about the very early years of how we are going to rebuild the South after the Civil War. So vocab would be freedmen, Reconstruction, amnesty, Freedmen's Bureau, and 13th Amendment. So at the end of the Civil War, the future looked bleak to many Southerners. Across the South, cities and farms lay in ruins. All Southerners, black and white, faced an unfamiliar new world, and at the time, a shattered nation had to find a way to become whole once again. So, after 4 years of war, both Northerners and Southerners had to adjust to a changed world. And the adjustment would be way, way more difficult for those in the South than the North. So, despite their victory, Northerners will face a number of economic problems for a short period of time. You have 800,000 returning soldiers for the Union that needed jobs, and the government was canceling all war orders, and factories are now laying off workers. So there's going to be a huge job shortage after the Civil War because, well, we don't need all the guns and bullets and stuff that we once did. So those people that were busy making those things are now laid off. Still, the North's economic disruption was temporary, and boom times quickly would return. The North may have lost more soldiers, but few battles were actually fought in the North, and this resulted in um, few farms and cities being destroyed in the North as compared to the South, which we will talk about today. And the North also faced political problems, though there was a disagreement about how to bring the South back into the Union and what to do with newly freed African Americans. And many wanted to punish Southerners for what they had done, while others just wanted a more moderate approach and they just kind of wanted to move on with everything that happened and get back to how things were and normalize things once again. So the South's going to be a lot worse. And so economic conditions in the South were far worse than in the North. Confederate soldiers had little chance of taking up where they had left off, and some areas, even every house, barn, and bridge had been destroyed by the North. Two-thirds of the South's railroad tracks had been turned into twisted heaps of scrap, and the cities of Columbia, Richmond, and Atlanta had been leveled by the Union Army. The war also wrecked the South's financial system. After the war, Confederate money was worthless, and people that loaned money to the Confederate government, well, because the Confederate government no longer exists, those people are never going to get repaid. All those people that turned their money into the Confederate dollar is basically worthless. Use it as toilet paper at this point because about all it's going to be good for. The Union won't respect the value of that Confederate dollar at all. And many Southern banks also closed, and the people that had money in them would lose their savings. So when these banks close, the people that had money in there, it's now just gone forever. You're never getting that money back. And so the war changed Southern society almost overnight because a new class of nearly 4 million people, known as freedmen, or men and women who had been freed from slavery, now existed. Under slavery, they could not own property or learn to read and write. So that's going to create a problem because they're not going to be very well educated, and therefore it's going to be difficult for them to stand up for their rights. And these economic and social problems combined with political problems, and it would be unclear how the southern states would run their governments, mainly for a couple reasons. One, there's no legal system in place to protect African Americans, and two, many white Southerners feared them actually gaining political power. There's going to be one other one, and that is also many white politicians who had held office in the Confederacy were now forbidden from politics. So the people that have been running the South for years and years, and were even representatives in Congress before they all seceded, those people are no longer allowed to get involved in politics. So, in other words, these people that have all the experience running stuff for these countries or these states are no longer allowed to do that. And so basically every state's going to be starting over new. And overall, the economic differences between the agrarian South and industrial North will increase after the war. The northern economy picked up while the South struggled to rebuild. And many Southerners also resented Northerners coming in to fix, quote unquote, Southern problems. The South was proud and they wanted to kind of fix their own issues. They didn't want people from the North to come in and help them out as much. And the South's ruined economy made recovery especially difficult. Um, because, well, the fact that all their fields are ruined and things like this, it's going to take years and years and years to rebuild that economy back up, because it's one that relied on trade so much. And so the environmental damage from the war, because most of the fighting had been in the South, the region's physical environment suffered heavily from the war, and this would have a huge impact on the economy as well. Many Southern farms had been battlefields at one point in time. Fields and buildings were destroyed, and battle debris littered the landscape. Other farms in the South were deliberately destroyed by Union troops, and forests would also be destroyed. So soldiers had cut down the trees to build fortifications, campfires, and artillery, and fires would damage other forests as well. Animals also suffered in the war. Mules and horses used in the war died by the thousands, and hungry soldiers had captured livestock for food, and Union soldiers killed the livestock they found as they swept through Georgia. So there's no livestock, there's no forest, their fields are just absolutely destroyed and covered in battlefield debris, and the Southern soldiers are just going to return to absolute chaos for the most part. And for a lot of them, it's going to be very difficult to rebuild their lives. And so that will be kind of the biggest issue. And so that is where I will leave you for today. We'll finish the section tomorrow. And I believe on Monday you guys will have to do your own notes again. So I'll get that website updated for you and we will go from there. So have a good day and I will be back with you guys